Okay, so welcome back to my humble abode. Welcome back to my channel. If you've been here before, if this is the first time you've seen any of my videos, quick précis. This channel is dedicated to talking about life as a person who carries a disability, which you can see. I'm not dancing here, I promise you. And who also pursues the skill/sport of surfing, and how we can find meaning and purpose in our lives when we're struggling to get by. So, hello. First of all, I should thank people who left some really nice feedback in the preceding week, and it's all been positive. The only thing I've really heard from anybody is keep doing this, keep making these videos, so I'll keep making the videos. If the preponderance of people start saying, please, for God's sake, start making the videos, I'll stop. One person in particular, a young lady who I've known for a long time, a really wonderful person, contacted me to say thank you for making last week's video because it helped her through a particularly tricky week. She was having a hard time. So it's amazingly gratifying to receive that kind of feedback from people. I made this because I want to help people. I know I'm not the only person out there struggling. There's an awful lot of us. It may be most of us, we just don't realise it. Life is hard for everybody, wherever you are, much harder for some, much easier for others, but never completely easy. I think we've learned one thing in the last couple of years and now in the last few weeks is that no matter how amazing your life may be on the surface, there could be all sorts of demons lurking within you and all sorts of skeletons in your closets, and none of it's good for you. So, if you are a person who feels like they hit rock bottom, or you're hurtling towards it, or you just feel like shit, get help. Go to a doctor, paramedics, A&E. Go to anyone who's a medical professional. This is where I bring in my disclaimer. I am not a medical professional. I am not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a paramedic. I'm not a surgeon. I'm none of those things. I have no medical training. Everything I'm saying here is my story, and it's my opinion, conjecture, hypotheses. It is not medical advice and should not be taken as such. If you need help, get professional medical help and do it now. Next thing I want to mention before I start talking about the contents of the chapter. Thank you very much to the people who made a donation to buy me a coffee. I thought that was fantastic. I really appreciated it. It went towards actually putting something into the show, which is my new microphone. Shouldn't have the cable wrapped up. There we go. So there's my new microphone. Very cute. And it can't be a coincidence that it looks amazingly like. Just bear with me. Come on. Let's do the see, Marvin the Paranoid Android. My microphone. Marvin the Paranoid Android from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And my microphone again. That's karma. That's a message from the universe telling me I'm doing the right thing. I'm tempted to make Marvin my a mascot for this channel now. For those of you who don't know the reference, Marvin the Paranoid Android is a character from a science fiction book, a comedy science fiction book, written by the great author Douglas Adams, and it's called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And it's really funny. It's a really good read. So I would urge you to watch it. So, as you can see, I'm quite spasmodic today. The reason for that is, well, partly nerves. I'm always nervous when I'm doing this. I'll settle down in a bit. But also, I'm about 5 days away from an essential treatment that I get every 3 months. I'll be having Botox injected into my neck muscles. So there's 3 muscles that will be affected, and they'll reduce these spasms and straighten me out a little bit. And they will get injected into a muscle called the sternocleidomastoid, which is sort of down the side of your neck and affects tilt. The trapezium, which is a very big muscle, as any bodybuilder will tell you, and that kind of pulls your head round to the left and right. And the splenium, which I haven't figured out the purpose of yet, but I will maybe for next time. So, like I said, I'm not a doctor. Right, so that's the formalities done. So now it's time to start improvising, because I don't script these things. And there's a reason for that. Part of it is just laziness, but also I think it's really important that I just tell you exactly what's in my head at this time. If I wrote this a week ago and then spent 2 or 3 days editing a script, I would start applying filters subconsciously, and I would be removing things because maybe I don't like the light it portrays me and editing it slightly, and in my mind it would all be irrational. But I think it's best if you just get warts and all stream of consciousness, which does mean you're going to be a bit patient with me because I do waffle. So let's get on target. The subject of today's video, I named it after the Japanese craft of repairing broken ceramics in a manner which makes them more beautiful than they were before. This is called Kintsuki, I think. I hope I got that pronunciation right. And basically, they take these shards of ceramic from their beautiful bowls or whatever, and they mix gold powder, usually, into a lacquer, and then use that to bond the pieces together, and you get something that's really quite stunningly beautiful, more so than the original piece quite often. I believe they're quite valuable. They can be. And that's what I want this to be about. So, why this subject at this particular time? Well, it's been on my mind, and I'm kind of abandoning the idea of telling this story in a chronological order. It's just not going to work. It's going to have to be like, well, this happened here and this happened there, and gradually you'll get a whole picture of me. So, let's begin. Back in 2019, early to mid 2019, looking back, I didn't realise it, but I was in pretty poor state mentally. My brother had died a few years ago, and my sister had died the year before. That was in 2016 and 2017, respectively. And they both died of cancer. And it was a very, very difficult time for me and Mum, who were the kind of last remaining members of the family, and feeling like we'd just survived a battle, which we had really, I suppose. People talk about the 5 stages of grief, and it's usually denial, negotiation, anger, depression, then acceptance, or something like that. But it's not linear, and there's no fixed time period, and it doesn't go away. So it's not like you do a month of each and then you're good. It's all gone. It's more like a set of variables that change all the time. And on any one day you could be feeling any combination of those responses to your grief. And when you're caught up in these things, you don't necessarily notice. You can be quite busy getting on with your life and thinking that the stuff's fairly normal, but then you also notice that every time you get on the train to go home, you're stuffed into a corner seat in the carriage crying. You can't get it out of your system. And I was like that for months after my brother died. I'm going to touch on that in another subject, another video, excuse me. So 2019, I'm sat on the train, not crying, just watching random videos on my phone like everybody else was doing. And there was one of some wingsuit flying. You know, these guys who jump out of planes, and these skydivers, they're obviously expert skydivers, and they put these little suits on that have little bits of cloth joining the arms and the body, and they can effectively glide at speed through quite long distances, and it just looks amazing. It would be a fantastic experience. And it just made me think, my life's getting a bit boring. I need to do something more than just working, eating, sleeping, working out, and tinkering with my guitar. I think I need something exciting. Well, wingsuit flying's definitely out. I didn't have this condition then, by the way, I was in good health. But even so, wingsuit flying is A, very expensive, B, very time consuming because it's going to take you a long time to get up to that standard, and C, really dangerous. And I didn't really like the last part. I want something I can enjoy without thinking it's going to kill me. So, wingsuit flying's a no-no. But then, kind of out of nowhere, I just thought, you know what, it'd be good, cost effective, and it would still constitute a holiday. Would be if I was just to go surfing. If I just find a surf camp and go surfing, learn how to do it. So, I decided in the autumn of 2019 I would go and learn to surf. So I found a little Airbnb in Porto, in Portugal, and I chose Porto just because it was one of those splash screens that they have on your mobile phone and on your Windows PC. You know, some location in the world that's beautiful in the description, and I saw one that I just fell in love with, and it was Porto. So I googled Porto and I googled surfing, and the two go together beautifully. There's a lot of surfing around there because the coast of Portugal, it's on the west side, what we think of as Spain, so it gets the Atlantic. So it gets the big waves, and most of you know about Nazare, where it's like biggest waves in the world, where the best surfers in the world go. So wherever you go in Portugal along the coast, you're gonna get something to surf on, I guarantee you. So I booked 2 weeks at this surf camp. I'll give them a free plug. They're called the school is called Pura Vida. I'll put a link to it in the description of the video. And the accommodation is called Surf and Olives, and it's a series of little chalets where you can stay and just bask in the sun and just chill out. In fact, I've got a picture of it for you right here. Hope this works. Not him. There you go. That's where I stayed. And the windowed building at the far end is where I first stayed when I get there. Back to me. So this is where it goes a bit weird, and this is where I discovered just how unhappy I was and how much the grief of losing my siblings had hit me without me realising it. I got packed for the flight, had all my stuff, no big deal, I like travelling around. Then the day I was due to get the train to Gatwick, it wasn't super early, it wasn't inconvenient. I made sure it was going to be a nice, pleasurable journey, set off mid-morning, so on and so forth. And I started getting this feeling that just like, I didn't want to go. Not like I didn't want to surf or I didn't want to be in Portugal, I just didn't want to leave. And I thought, well, you know, you've just not been on holiday for a while and not been lazy, get your ass off and get your ass up and get out the front door, get on that train. So I made my way down to the nearest train station in Bexley Heath. And I looked at the schedule for the trains, and the next train's due in 10 minutes, so I get a coffee. And I'm sat there with my rucksack full of bits and pieces, packed, ready to go on my holiday. And I couldn't shake this feeling off. I just kept thinking, this doesn't make sense, but I sort of want to be on holiday, but I don't want to go anywhere now. And it wouldn't go away, and eventually the train pulled up on time, you'll be pleased to hear, and the door slid open directly opposite me. I was looking into the train, and all I had to do was to take 3 or 4 steps, and I would have been in that train on the way to the airport, and then on a plane on the way to Porto, and then having fun surfing. And I could not get my arse off that seat. I kept looking into that carriage, and I just kept thinking, I can't do this. And that is ridiculously out of character for me. Never in my life have I thought, I'll book a holiday but not go on it because it's all a bit much. If anything, I like travelling alone. I find it enjoyable, not so much now because it's a bit uncomfortable, but I'll still do it. Usually when I go on holiday, I like to go on holiday on my own. So it wasn't that there was no company or anything, it was an ideal set of circumstances. And I was running out of time. The door stayed open for not very long, 10 seconds, whatever it is. Then they started beeping, which means the doors are about to close. So now I'm either going to sprint and just get through the doors, or I'm just going to sit here staring at the train. And I chose to sit there and stare at the train. And the doors closed, and the train moved on. And I was sat there feeling a bit lost and a bit perplexed by my own behaviour. So I waited for the next train to come along because I still had tons of time. It's a regular train service to and from Gatwick and Bexleyheath. And the second train came along, and the doors opened, and I looked into that carriage, and I could not get myself to get into that train. It's the weirdest thing. Just wouldn't. My body just wouldn't move. So I thought, if this is the way things are at the moment, maybe you're just not quite ready to go on holiday for whatever reason. Maybe you need to go home and just try and figure out what's going on here. So I gave up trying to get on trains that day. I sent a message to the proprietor of the Airbnb and said, I made like an excuse. I said, big work thing has come up. I can't say that. I couldn't really say I couldn't face approaching your accommodation. That's a bit rude, because they haven't done anything wrong. It's all prepaid. So they said, yeah, that's fine, don't worry. So I spent almost a week just at home on leave, just kind of ruminating, mulling things over, not really coming to any conclusions. But that slight rest, that slight respite, giving myself a little bit of space to think, rather than pressuring myself into performing, essentially. Performing is a good word because it would have been a performance. I would have been pretending to be somebody happy to be going on holiday. And I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy and I wasn't at peace. And I had no desire to do anything other than just curl up under my duvet at home, which is basically mild depression, I think. So I stuck it out a few days at home and finally thought, well, you can't keep putting this off. It's ridiculous. You paid for a holiday. So after a few days, I got my shit together basically, and I booked another flight, so a couple of £100 extra, but never mind. And I flew to Portugal, and I got to my accommodation, which looks like this cute slideshow. This lovely little set of villas. I was greeted by the hostess, a really, really lovely, sweet woman called Susanna. And I got settled into my chalet. It was quite late in the evening, so there wasn't much to do really, other than pull out a map, find where the nearest supermarket is, and stock up the fridge with some food. So the accommodation is like 500 metres away from the sea. It's just a short walk down the hill and you're there, basically. So I took a walk down to the seafront. It was in, I think it was like September or October, which is basically heatwave weather if you're from Lancashire. So I was fine. I was wandering around in a t-shirt and shorts, and all the locals are wrapped up in scarves and cardigans and hats. It's pretty comical. And so I went for a walk and I found this stone causeway that stuck out into the sea. And I walked along it and I sat on the end of that sea. And I can just remember thinking, David would have loved this. My brother Dave, he liked to travel as well, in a similar manner to me. I just thought he would have been happy here. And then it was kind of more obvious what was wrong, I was still grieving. Skipping forward a few years, I was talking to a lady at the same location actually, from Canada, and we got talking about the subject of grief because she'd lost her sister to cancer. So she was very sympathetic to what I had been through and was still going through. And I said, it takes a long time to get over this, doesn't it? And she's like, yeah. I said, it's been like 4 or 5 years since my brother died, and I still miss him. I still struggle with that. I still miss him, and I feel guilty. I think I have survivor's guilt. I don't want to go off topic, so funny. So I sat there looking out to sea as the sun's going down and shed a few tears for him. And just hoped wherever he is in the universe, he's somewhere peaceful, because that's what he deserves. And then I went for a long walk. I walked about 8 miles. Didn't have the faintest idea where I was. I was just on a beach somewhere. But it was easy to find my way back. Did a bit of shopping, got back to my accommodation. And then the holiday started. And so the next day, up and early for surfing. The one thing that sucks about surfing, and it really does suck about surfing, is that the big waves are nearly always in the morning. So it's always like a 7 a.m. start, and I don't do mornings at the best of times, as some of you know. I just don't do mornings at all. But I was up at 7, ready to go, and off we tramped on our first surf lesson, and it could have gone in any direction. I mean, I've seen a surfboard. I've watched people surf. That's very different from trying it. So we got our wetsuits on. We were at a beach called Matosinhos in Porto. It's a very, very quiet, peaceful beach. It's got small waves. It's perfect for somebody who's never surfed before. And when you start as a beginner surfer, they don't give you the tiny little fish-shaped surfboards you see the experts whizzing around on. They give you something that's like 9 feet long. And it's covered in foam so that when it bops you, it doesn't hit you too hard, because you fall a lot when you're learning. I mean, even when you're decent, you still fall a lot. And so we had the induction, the safety briefing, the warm-up. I fucking hate warm-ups. It's like, no, just get me in the water. That's warming up, me paddling on the board. You see that? That's me warming up. Running around on the sand, I hate. Even more so now with this, it's no fun at all. And but Bernardo, doing his best for me, and he's a good instructor. I'll give him a big shout out later. Cool guy. And so we had the lessons, and we started having a go at it. And I thought I would really suck at surfing. I thought it'd be one of those things, I'll try it and I'll just be really bad. But it actually turned out I was right. I really suck at surfing. Part of it is my own fault, because arrogant little shit that I am, I always had to do things my own way. And I had a mental image of myself sort of proudly stood on the surfboard like that. And that's not what you're meant to do. You're meant to do the opposite. You're meant to kind of crouch down, get your centre of gravity low. It's common sense. But for some reason, I couldn't stop myself from doing that. And I just kept standing up and falling off, standing up, falling off. And Bernardo was laughing his head off at me nicely. He just thought it was so comical. Then on the, in fact, let me just stay on track before I skip forward. So we had a first surf lesson. It was good fun. I didn't give a shit when I was falling off the board. It was like, this is, yeah, I chose well here. This is a good thing to pursue. It's you and the ocean. I think what makes it appeal to me the most as a sport or a pastime, recreational activity, is that when you're on that board and you just sat on it, watching the swell, waiting for your moment. Sorry, excuse me. You just get this sense that there's you and there's the ocean. And there's nothing else. You're just waiting for your moment to catch a wave. But most of your time as a surfer, you spend just sat there looking out to sea. And it's just beautiful. It's never ever been anything other than beautiful. And I've done quite a lot of surfing since then. It's as peaceful as it gets. And you have this truly 100% hippie feeling that you're kind of at one with the planet, because when you're on the board, you're not in the sea or on the sea. You're connected to the ocean, and it's not the Atlantic Ocean, it's all of the world's oceans. So you suddenly feel this connection with the entire planet, at least the wet bits. And I don't know, it's just good for you. It's a good feeling to have. I'll try and find a better way of describing it as I talk more. But it's definitely good for your mental state. Until you get trashed. Yeah, so anyway, 34th lesson came around. And of course, first time surfing, you will have accidents. And the boards that they give us are covered in foam, but they're not soft really. It's a foam coating so that you don't get cut to pieces. But one of the waves just caught me in just the right way, just the right angle and speed, and it dinged me in the ribcage here, and it was like getting punched in the ribs hard. And it hurt. It hurt so much. And when you're surfing, you're in a lying position because you're paddling out to the waves like that. Well, just like that. And then when you get your position and you know you're going to get your wave, you take a couple of big strokes to get some momentum, then you push yourself up off your board like that. So you're arching your back. And I was trying to arch my back and it hurt so much there. I was almost in tears. It was just agony. And Bernardo was worried about me. Do I need to go to the hospital? And I was like, no, I don't think it's a broken rib. I've just bruised myself really badly. I think that's probably correct. I think if it was a broken rib, I would have known. But oh my god, it did not put a damper on every lesson after that. But I stuck it out. I tried to do every lesson that I could as best as I could. But just every movement was painful. Getting the wetsuit on was agony. It was ridiculous. It was like, just pulling it on gingerly over the injured spot like that, going, oh god, oh my god, it hurts so much. And then going for a surf and struggling because your ribs are kind of pressed onto the surfboard by your body weight until you pop up when you stretch. So everything hurt, whatever I did. And then I think the last few lessons, I didn't really use the board at all. I just kind of went out to sea and swam around in the water, which is probably the best thing to do, because ultimately, if you're not enjoying it, there's no point doing it. Surfing is meant to be a pleasurable experience. So that was my first surfing experience. And despite the weirdness of it all, the crazy start, I really fell in love with it. I fell in love with the location. I fell in love with the accommodation. I fell in love with the ocean and the boards and just all of it, the whole surfing experience. Not the culture. I'm not really into the surfing culture because when I'm surfing, it's just me. I really just kind of want to be on my own a lot of the time. I'm processing stuff and enjoying the peace. There are moments that I share with others and they can be good fun. But more than anything, it's just me on that ocean. It's just me in the ocean. So that was a success story in the end. And I left thinking, right, I think I found my thing. I think I found something that I can be really into in a big way. And I started making plans, and I figured if I arranged my leave in a certain way, I could have like a week here and a week there and a week there throughout every year, so I can keep topping my surfing and I can go to these artificial wave pools. There's one in Bristol called The Wave, which is fantastic by the looks of it. I'm going to visit it in a week or so. So I might be sending you a video from there. We'll see. So I made my plans and I'm all set to become a surfer. But then the great medical panic of 2020 started, 2019 to 2020, and the world went to shit and turned upside down. And it wasn't worth the effort of getting on a plane, to be honest. And everything was shut down. You weren't allowed on beaches, you weren't allowed in parks. I'm not getting political about this, that's how it was. I'm not going to wear an opinion on that matter at all. But it meant no surfing. Unless I was going to do like black ops surfing at night, my face all cammed up. But no, I just couldn't surf. And what happened then? We finally came out of the panic, the crisis, which is of a medical nature, and I'm being kind of vague with my terminology for reasons that have to do with YouTube and its algorithms. But that came to an end and everyone breathed a sigh of relief and I went, right, let's go surfing again. And that was when the dystonia started. So, backtracking a little bit to chapter 1. I fell apart in a really big way. I will cover more of that in later episodes because I've only given you a taster of just how bloody awful that thing was, that period in time. So we lost 2022 to the dystonia. So 2022 can be thought of as like the tactical retreat. The year when I was just kind of like staying with mum, leading a different life, suddenly having to adapt to things that I couldn't do anymore, trying to get healthcare, which was just very difficult. I mean, good luck getting a neurologist these days. You know, you may as well go around hunting for rocking horse shit. They're few and far between. They're very busy. They are really, really busy at the moment, everywhere. So we did eventually get into a treatment with the NHS. I had paid for a few private consultations, but it's not cheap. Good doctors, but it's not cheap. But at least I got to the point where I knew I didn't have Parkinson's disease, which I've mentioned in other videos. It just scares the shit out of me. There's that disease. I've seen it. It's awful. You think it's Michael J. Fox, you know, on stage with the guitar, and oh, he's got Parkinson's, but it's all right. It's like, no, Parkinson's is hell on earth. It really is bad. I've seen the worst of it with my dad. So my stylist didn't have that. So that took a lot of pressure off my mind, excuse me. And then 2023 was kind of like regrouping, forming a plan. The treatment started to come together. I started getting the Botox injections. I started my referral for a neurologist with the NHS came through. So now I have a neurologist, now I have Botox, now I'm not having to pay for all the treatments, now I know more or less where I stand. And this being a part psychiatric condition, that's very important because it does make you quite depression prone. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go back to surfing. I want to do that again. And I'll just have to figure it out. I could be waiting years for a recovery, which may never come. So, fuck it, let's go. Hence the theme, Kintsuki. Put something back together with gold. So, I made a booking. I don't think they remembered who I was actually. I think Susanna may have done. I made a booking, went back to Surf at Olives, a very different person. Different haircut, because good luck getting a haircut when you got a head like this and you're bobbing all over the place, ducking and weaving, and the hairdresser's chasing you around. Shout out to Nigel's hairdressers in Blackburn. He was the last guy who gave me a haircut, and you could see I was struggling, and he was so nice about it, and you could just see the compassion in his eyes. Note to self: there's a video I need to make about the kindness of strangers. So they remembered a very different person who came in physically fit, pretty chilled, more or less, full head of hair, and what they got was somebody who walked sideways, who was struggling to look straight on, and was clearly in some discomfort. And I remember the look on Bernardo's face when he saw me, and he just looked confused. It's like, have we met before? But it was so great to be there, and the dogs were there as well. We'll talk about the dogs another day. The cheese mafia. I'll tell you about the cheese mafia in another story. Cheeky little sods. But they were making a fuss of me, and Susanna, gave me a hug, and she could see there was something wrong. And Susanna's one of those people who just wants to help everybody, and she was trying to find holistic remedies for me and alternative therapies, which I'm not disparaging at all. I think they do actually play an important role in your life if you're trying to heal from a chronic condition. And I think there's a sentiment that's growing amongst the public. We're starting to slowly realise that conventional Western medicine works, but it doesn't always solve the entire problem. And the field of complementary medicines can have a positive impact. So I'd had like hypnotherapy. I had 2 different hypnotherapists, and I was waiting for another one. And I think I was trying a few other methods as well. I won't go into details on that. So that year, really 2023, was where I started surfing because I loved it and because I knew if I was going to be happy anywhere in this world, given my circumstances, it was going to be on a surfboard, looking out to sea, watching the sunset, or sometimes watching the sunrise, depending on the conditions. I'm just feeling very peaceful. Even if it wasn't comfortable, I still felt a great sense of peace. So I've been going surfing twice a year to the same location for the last few years. I'm booked in for this May, can't wait. It's going to be lovely to see Susanna, give her a big hug. So I've taught her all about chutney. I might bring her a jar of chutney every time. She loves the stuff. And marmalade. The Portuguese don't have marmalade. Weird. So she's a sweetie pie, and she makes a big fuss of me. And she knocks on my little chalet door and brings me little pastries. The Portuguese do brilliant little pastries, trust me. Pastel de nata, love them. They're gorgeous. And my surfing's getting better. I'm actually better on a surfboard than I am in a chair any day of the week. And it kind of ties in with the facts that are known about dystonia, in that the dystonia is caused by a dysregulation. That's a word that gets used a lot, but I've also heard it described as basically a corruption of the neural pathway that is used for this kind of motion. And that can be proven, actually. I'm going to try this. Oh, I hope I don't regret doing this. I'm going to walk backwards. So you can see me here. You can see I'm a bit all over the place. I'm going to try and walk backwards, and what it should do is activate. Yeah, see what's happening? Don't know if I do. And watch as I walk forwards. Isn't that crazy? It took me no effort to walk backwards. Because walking backwards is... Oh shit. I'm a skilled professional. Sorry about that. So it proves that there are pathways for moving forward, but it's a different neural pathway for moving backwards. So you can kind of turn it on and off. So all I have to do is walk backwards for the rest of my life with some wing mirrors tied to my head and I'll be fine. But there's other stuff that can be done. Where was I? Yeah, so I think this brings us to where I just want to wrap up and conclude. And the conclusion is that you can be in a real mess and you can feel like there's nowhere left to go or turn, and there's nothing left for you to do in this world. You can feel useless. And worse still, you can feel helpless. And you can descend into a swamp of self-pity. But you don't have to. If you open your mind and open your heart, look at yourself, accept that you need help, you can find the help and you can find meaning in life. You can find meaning and purpose. Sometimes in the strangest places. You don't know how to go surfing. Maybe something else for you. Could be anything at all. But look for these things. Engage in life. That's the conclusion. Get engaged with your life. Don't hunker down on the sofa for months in front of the TV, doom scrolling on your phone, paying no attention to anything in particular. Find something that motivates you, that charges you up, because surfing does it for me every time. And I am starting to become not competent, but I can go out on the sea on my own now, really, as long as it's not a raging storm and I'm safe and I can paddle and I can surf. And surfing is the best feeling in the world to me. It's like flying. It really is. It's just an amazing sensation. So that's me finding my passion in life, finding a way to live around my condition. I don't think defeat is the right word. I'm not beating it. If you try and fight this, it fights back and it wins. It's more like a dance. It's more like dancing with a skilled partner. And the more you work with it, the easier your life will get. That's my story. Your problems will be different. I hope you can find something in what I've said today that you can translate and repurpose for yourself. I'm going to end it here. Yeah, because I'm just running out of stuff to talk about now and I'm feeling a bit tired. Because it took me ages to get this set up today. So, oh yeah, one other thing. Look after your fitness. Keep yourself in shape. If you're not in shape, get in shape. If you're overweight and it's getting you down, touchy subject, I know, but fight it. Do something. Don't just become a physical wreck just because you're unwell. It won't help. Don't look for excuses to be in bed. Look for reasons to get up and do something. You can become a fitness fanatic, or you could just find a way of volunteering somewhere that gives you a sense of gratitude to yourself for the way that you're helping people. And maybe collectively, if I can get my humble message across to more people, we can start spreading a little bit more of this positivity and make the world just a little bit better, because the world's a fucking mess and it doesn't have to be. So if you know somebody who is going through a similar situation, who is suffering, who you haven't spoken to for 3 months, get in touch with them, ask them how they're doing, watch them, listen to what they say, just listen, don't argue, and something will come of it. I don't know what, but something will come of it. More than anything, people want to be listened to when they're struggling, I think, in addition to whatever help they need. So, this is where I sign off. I hope it's a suitable ending. Thank you very much for listening and watching. I hope the constant head moving isn't too off-putting, but there's nothing I can do about it. I'm sorry. Next week's video may be in better shape because I'll have had my Dysport injection. Dysport, Botox, same thing. They're just different brand names for the botulinum toxin. So yeah, thank you very much. Usual stuff. If you can share the video to, well, everyone really, that'd be fantastic. But whoever you think is appropriate, no pressure. I have put a link to buy me a coffee if you feel this video was worthy of a donation, because it goes into buying things like Marvin the Paranoid Android, maybe a better camera as well, and my time. So that's it. God, is there anything else to say? No, please tune into the video next week. Thank you very much for being here. And yeah, do svidaniya.